Welcome to This Explainer. I am so genuinely thrilled we get to dig into this together today. You know, we spend so much of our time looking outward, right? We're constantly trying to optimize our schedules, our careers, our physical environments. But today, I want to invite you on an inward journey. We're going to explore the unseen forces that actually shape our lives from the inside out. We're looking at a profound piece of writing by Simba titled The Theory of the Soul, which completely reframes how we understand memory, direction, and the quiet architecture of our own lives. So settle in, because this is going to be incredibly revealing. Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever had one of those moments where everything in your life looks absolutely flawless on paper? You've got the great job, the nice place, the good friends, yet there's this quiet, unexplainable anxiety or restlessness just humming in the background. It's this weird feeling of drifting, even when you're supposedly perfectly anchored. Well, this exact feeling is actually the primary symptom of a profound disconnect between the life we are building on the surface and the quiet architecture operating right beneath it. Section 1. The Quiet Architect Within. The Witness and Guide of Life. To really understand our deep restlessness, we actually have to look back. Since the very dawn of human thought, we have universally sensed an inner presence that precedes our actual choices. And what fascinates me here is the absolute historical consensus on this. The Greeks called it the psyche. In ancient India, it was the Atman. The Egyptians named it the Ka, and Hebrew traditions refer to the Ruach. While they all use different names, they were pointing to the exact same truth. This inner architecture is not your body, it's not your logical mind, and it is definitely not your willpower. It is simply the silent witness and guide of your life. Let's draw a really sharp contrast here. On one side, we have the body and the ego. And let's be honest with ourselves, our ego is incredibly loud. It's driven by biology, by fear, and by temporary desires. It literally wants to control every single variable in the room. But on the other side is the soul, which operates so much more subtly. It is the witness and the guide. It doesn't scream for your attention or try to command your destiny with an iron fist. It simply holds the blueprint. It already knows your direction. Plato explored this beautifully in his works. He suggested that the soul actually existed before birth and carries a form of knowledge that we just forget the second we enter the body. In this view, learning isn't really about acquiring new raw data. It is quite literally just remembrance. The soul holds an awareness of your future, maybe not every tiny granular detail, but the ultimate direction. It doesn't forcefully shove your physical body toward that future, but rather it leans you toward it. Through intuition, through longing, and yes, through that quiet dissatisfaction we talked about earlier. It nudges you whenever you drift too far off course. Moving into Section 2, Decoding the Soul's Nudges, Finding the Signals in the Noise. So what does this actually look like day to day? How do we practically identify this quiet guidance in the middle of our chaotic, incredibly loud lives? I want to give you a quick daily reflective exercise. Have you ever felt totally weirdly at home in a city you've never even visited before? Or felt this instant, unexplainable trust or completely intense distrust towards a total stranger? What about repeatedly facing the exact same type of conflict, as if life is just demanding you learn a specific lesson? Or that inner refusal to settle down despite achieving external success? I want you to start actively noticing these soft, persistent signals. They aren't random little quirks of your brain. They are direct nudges from a deeper place that remembers exactly where you are meant to go. You know, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously noted that human beings are disturbed not by events themselves, but by our interpretations of those events. Our ego is absolutely obsessed with interpreting things, slapping labels on them like good, bad, fair, or unfair. But the soul, it sits patiently beneath all of those loud, frantic interpretations. It signals a deep feeling of alignment or resistance long, long before our conscious, calculating mind ever catches up to what's really happening. Section 3. Recognition Beyond the Flesh. The True Nature of Soulmates. Now, what's really interesting about this slotty is that we are about to completely reframe that tired Hollywood rom-com cliche of soulmates into something vastly more profound. You might be familiar with Aristophanes' concept from Plato's Symposium. It's that famous myth that humans were once whole beings split in two by the gods, basically condemned to search the earth for our other half. While it's super poetic, it points to a deeply practical truth. Souls recognize one another long before our physical bodies actually do. Two souls already know that their physical forms are meant to meet. And here is the real-world evidence of that profound recognition. When you meet a soul you are literally fated to encounter, the connection feels entirely inevitable.
Even if you try to resist it, you can't. Separation from them doesn't just hurt, it feels fundamentally unnatural. You experience vastly accelerated personal growth, and the bond persists way beyond human logic or difficult circumstances. You see, while our physical bodies get slowed down and burdened by fear, bad timing, and cultural expectations, the soul is just patiently guiding two people together, and it will gladly drag us through necessary detours and massive heartbreak to finally get us there.
Understanding our relationships requires a massive perspective shift right here. The ego's primary goal is seeking comfort. It wants safety, it wants predictability, it wants an easy ride. But the soul's goal? It is seeking completion. This explains perfectly why intense, fated connections are rarely easy or purely blissful. The soul prioritizes your ultimate completion over your temporary comfort. And sometimes, actually a lot of the time, that requires delay, heavy friction, and immense challenge.
Section 4. Catalysts for Soul Growth. When encounters break us open. This brings us to a really hard truth. Not all fated encounters are gentle, and they certainly are not all meant to bring us peace. Some of them are designed specifically to break us wide open. The great psychologist Carl Jung spoke extensively about the shadow, those unseen, suppressed parts of ourselves we desperately do not wish to acknowledge. The soul will intentionally direct us toward extremely difficult people who perfectly embody these shadow aspects, essentially forcing us into a harsh but absolutely necessary awakening. So the crucial point is that these transformative meetings are almost never random. Many are beautifully yet painfully fated, only to teach us not to last forever. We literally have to stop viewing painful relationships merely as failures or mistakes. They act as absolutely necessary catalysts for your deeper personal soul growth. Once that lesson is imparted, the fated nature of the encounter is fulfilled, even if the relationship itself ends in a massive heartbreak. Section 5. Weight of Unfinished Purpose. Restlessness Beyond Death. Let's move our focus back to your own internal, lifelong journey for a second. Just look at how beautifully these ancient frameworks align. The ancient Egyptians believed the soul required ma'at, a state of absolute balance, to pass peacefully into the afterlife. Fast forward a bit to ancient Greece, and Aristotle argued for eudaimonia, the idea that ultimate fulfillment only ever comes from actualizing your highest potential. Both traditions totally agree on this. True balance and fulfillment only come from living the internal purpose you were always from day one meant for. And here is the consequence of ignoring that purpose. If you avoid your deeper calling or suppress your own truth just for the sake of societal approval, your soul remains deeply unsettled. It literally falls into a state of imbalance. Now, this isn't some sort of moral punishment. It is structural. The soul fundamentally refuses to let us rest. It actively generates that lingering anxiety we open this explainer with, because it is desperately seeking coherence between what it knows you are meant to be and the life you are actually living out. Section 6. Listening to the inner voice. Quieting the ego. And this brilliantly illustrates our next big question. How do we actually fix this? How do we cut through the immense, exhausting daily noise to finally hear the soul's directions? Well, Socrates frequently spoke of his daimonion, a sort of inner guide. But importantly, he noted that this voice never, ever told him what to do. It only warned him what not to do. The soul's voice is rarely a booming command, laying out a perfect 10-year plan. It is very often just a quiet, persistent warning, a subtle, heavy resistance when you're about to make a choice that betrays your true path. So here are your practical daily steps. First, you must get to know the self beneath your habits, beneath cultural expectations, and beneath your fears. Who exactly are you when no one is watching? Second, you have to actively quiet the noise of the ego through stillness, meditation, or simply just unplugging from your phone for a while. Remember, the ego screams, but the soul whispers. Third, you must deliberately make space in your life for subtle, precise guidance. You have to achieve enough raw self-knowledge to actually recognize when your soul is stepping up to guide your daily decisions. You see, the soul is not dramatic. It does not shout, it waits. The soul cannot magically reach out and move your physical body. It cannot instantly alter your external circumstances or magically fix the future for you. But it will wait, and it will make you wonderfully, relentlessly restless until you finally decide to turn around and walk toward it. This is perhaps the most beautiful and comforting realization from Simba's text. You are being quietly remembered by something within you that has never forgotten. There is absolutely no way you are just wandering aimlessly through life, even on the days when you feel completely and utterly lost. There is a quiet architecture inside of you holding the blueprint, keeping the memory of your true purpose entirely safe until you are finally ready to claim it.
Which brings us to our final question today. Are you ready to stop forcing your path? Let go of your ego's desperate need for comfort and finally listen to what your soul is remembering? I really hope this explainer has given you the tools to begin that quiet listening. Thank you so much for joining me on this inward journey. Take some real time today to just sit in stillness and ask yourself, what is your quiet architect trying to build?